to get started here. So I'd like to call the December 8th, 2020 work session to order. And I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Chambers?
Here.
Dr. Lee?
Here.
Ms. Walden?
Here.
Ms. Shinholster?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Mr. Mullins?
Okay, we have a quorum present. And the first thing that's on our agenda is a presentation and update of the activities of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thank y'all for having me this evening. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to do a quick click here, Rebecca, so you can share your screen, okay?
Sounds great. Thank you, Hank.
Okay, you should be able to share it now.
Okay. Are we able to see my screen at this point, Hank?
Not yet.
Sorry, guys. Bear with me for a moment here.
Oh, come on, Rebecca. I've got all this stuff down pat now.
I'm telling you. I may be young, but I'm an old soul at heart. Okay, so you all can see my screen now. Is that correct?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if I can get to my presentation at this point. There we go. Okay. Okay, thank you guys truly so much for having us here at the end of the year. We look forward to this. We look forward to the opportunity to share our good news story with you. This year, of course, is going to look a little bit different, so thank you for bearing with me through that. I hope that you all had a safe and wonderful Thanksgiving season, and I will share a little bit of holiday cheer is headed your way. We look forward to coming back next year when we can actually, hopefully, all visit together in person. But in the meantime, we will be dropping off our Christmas ornament to you this week. Santa's sleigh got a little bit delayed in true 2020 fashion. The manufacturer that we order our ornament from went into a statewide shutdown. So, you know, just one more thing to add to the mix here at the end, but there will be a little bit of seasonal spirit headed to you this week. So just a quick look, because this will be important later, into other funding sources really when it comes to how our organization is funded. Of course, the bulk of our funds come from you all in the fact that you share your hotel motel tax with our organization. But we're also reliant on our group tour sales as well as merchandise sales and any grant funds that we're able to apply for. A quick look at how our year started. It started great. 2019 was really wonderful for the tourism industry here in Baldwin County. We know we had our best year ever with approximately $101 million being spent in our local community by those that come as visitors. And it supported 860 jobs this year. As we look at kind of how first quarter began in 2020, you'll see that we were on a great trajectory. Really, the green line is what we would have been looking at in 2020. And you can see compared to 2018 and 2019, 2020 was a phenomenal year. First quarter started out great, and this is traditionally our lowest quarter of the year. So to see it on such a positive rise was a really wonderful thing for the community. We knew we had two properties up for sale. The Fairfield Marriott was for sale, as well as the Relax Inn. So we knew that there were some valuable buys in our market because occupancy was performing very well. We had a great spring advertising campaign lined up. Spring is traditionally our second best season of the year. Fall is our number one season when we have the most visitation. But spring is a great season for us. That's really when we see our arts, heritage, and cultural travelers come into Baldwin County, and we had a large print buy. And then the world changed. And then COVID came, and it really changed the course of our trajectory. And we've had to take a minute to regroup. In fact, and I understand that, I'm sorry, you guys aren't going to be able to hear this well, I think, over your speaker system. I'll play it for you while I'm speaking, but in the process of spring, we had a video that had been filming that we were preparing to launch. Can you all hear this at all?
Mm-hmm.
You can't?
Yep.
Okay.
We can hear you, but not the video.
You can hear me, okay.
Yeah.
So we were shooting this beautiful spring video to inspire people to travel to Milledgeville when the pandemic hit. And we had all of this really beautiful footage. I'm going to stop it right here. We had all of this really beautiful footage, and we thought, what are we going to do with this when we're at a place where it's not even safe to encourage people to travel anymore? And right about that time, we were inspired by this beautiful video that Detroit had done. And Detroit was sharing the message that even Henry Ford himself would have said it's time to put it in park. And we thought that was a really great way to say it's not safe to travel right now. Stay home. And I will tell you, as somebody that has wanderlust herself, and as somebody that's spent over 15 years in the hospitality industry, that wasn't an easy ask, but that's exactly what we did with this video. We really told people, you know, please come back another spring, but this is not the spring to travel. Stay where you are, be safe, put your wellness first. And we used this season to regroup. There we go. So what happens when your entire mission is really built on promoting tourism and promoting travel, whether that's business travel or leisure travel? And as a state, we have gone into a shelter-in-place order. We had to take a hard look at really regrouping and what the need was in our own community first and foremost. You know, the reason we exist is to create economic relief for our residents. So we said, well, how can we create economic support for our own community in a time where it's not safe or okay to tell people to travel? And that's when we really shifted the way that we were messaging content to either meet a need. So we knew small businesses needed help and support. People needed to know, where could they eat? Where could they get curbside dining or curbside shopping? What were some positive stories about our community? Because I think at the end of the day, we are very much in control of brand image, and we wanted people to perceive Milledgeville as a positive destination where even in hard times, our community is rallying together. So we talked about the good things happening with our hospitality heroes in the industry, as well as creating content that would still inspire people to visit in the future or to see how lovely our town really is. And that's where we created some content like coloring sheets or virtual puzzles. As we did all of this, we continued to kind of assess the landscape, what was happening from a community perspective, as well as what was happening from a national trend perspective. And we've really used this season to talk to our partners first and foremost. I can tell you that when the pandemic hit, and some of you may have heard this yourself from some of our community partners, but you know, we had hotels that went from 100% occupancy to having 6 rooms in a 24-hour window. I mean, it was a shocking blow for our local economy. Our worst month was the month of April, where we had 54% revenue loss for our hotel partners. And, you know, just talking on the phone to them, staying connected to them about what was happening with them. You know, we had one property in particular that went from a staff of 24 down to a staff of 7 in about a 2-week period. Job loss was very real and very fast. And we've seen that rebound, and we're really grateful for that. And I'll talk later in the presentation about where we're at right now. But it was a very hard spring and even early summer for our hospitality partners. We also knew this year that sports tourism was going to be a huge part of our market, much more so than I would have ever realized a couple of years ago. We expected about 15,000 people coming just for sporting events alone. So whether that was cycling or cheerleading competitions, Parks and Rec had some Little League events that were supposed to happen, fishing tournaments out on the lake. We knew almost all of that business was lost this year. And then from a group tour perspective, we were really looking at about 73 group tours for the year, and we lost about 90% of that business because of the pandemic. And then for those of you who, I mean, of course, this is going to make sense, not being allowed to gather in large groups. And for those of you who might know an event venue owner, we've talked to, Adams Acres, Parker's, different venues in the area, and most of them are reporting thousands upon thousands of dollars of loss. Not so much from weddings, that business was displaced into 2021, but more from collegiate events that happened at their venues. So we just knew that this was a huge season of loss for our partners, for our industry. In fact, as we look at this, and I promise not all of this presentation is going to be quite so depressing, but as we look at this, no sector in Georgia has been as hard hit as travel. And this comes from a national economist company. Georgia actually was the fastest, in terms of economics, the fastest growing sector pre-pandemic in Georgia was the hospitality industry. And it's now where the largest employment loss is, which, if you think about the fact that this is hotels, that this is restaurants, that this is retail, it's a lot of those hourly jobs and hourly wage earners that have been lost. But all of that to mean we have entered a very different economy than we really were at the beginning of the year. So we used this period, this pause when we were in shutdown, to really say, how are we preparing to rebound? We know rebound and recovery is definitely going to take a while, but what does this really look like? And that's when we really began sourcing data from, Georgia research firms, national research firms, to say, well, what is travel sentiment even like? Because not only do we have to worry about how safe the consumer feels like it is, we also need to worry about, how safe does our community feel about inviting visitors back into it? And that's going to play a very real and active role in how we move forward. So that's when we really started seeing that if communities were having some level of tourism return, it usually was built around outdoor recreation. Sometimes to the detriment. I think we all saw a lot of that with like coastal towns in Florida. But we saw on our own website just a huge surge in the interest of outdoor recreation facilities. And you see here, Bartram Forest up 31%, Lake Sinclair up 100%, Oconee River Greenway up 310%. We knew people wanted to get out, but they wanted to get out safely and they wanted to be somewhere outside. So kind of the first step is saying if we allow visitors to come here, or if we're promoting that we want visitors to return, how are we doing this safely? Because we want to set an expectation for responsible travel. We want people to feel like Milledgeville is being responsible, but we also, and thank you for the mask mandate because that helped, but we also want to feel like, when our people are coming here, that they are being responsible. So we launched a COVID travel alert webpage, and this really told you what to expect when people came to our community. The fact that we had a mask mandate, the fact that, hotels now had 15 high-touch areas that they were sanitizing after every single visit. Food is now packaged, capacity limits at attractions. And we have seen almost 5,000 people have looked at that page. So we know safety is really important to people that are traveling here. And this is where we also saw outdoor recreation, again, just this tremendous growth on our website, really peaking during the summer. But around the same time was when In the news, there was a lot of coverage that Governor Kemp had commented about boats being tied up together at the lake. And we did not want there to be negative perception about Milledgeville. We did not want people that were coming here to feel like we did not care, we're not being safe. So this is when we launched a Q&A section on our website about outdoor recreation, just sharing with people, like, if you come here, what are the rules? What is DNR promoting? What can you do in terms of group size? And that was very well received. And then we had contracted a good deal of money in the spring for marketing. And of course that became, kind of a moot point. So we directed that money to summer instead. And we encouraged people to come out here, to come out to recreation assets, really heavily promoting the lake as well as the river, and just creating ad copy text that really promoted safe travel, people staying in open spaces. And we launched that in July. We also launched, and this was super fun as a mom with young kids. I loved this. We launched a mini adventure series. We knew people that had stayed home with children were ready to get out somewhere. But of course, you really want to be very safe in where you're traveling to. So we launched Children's Adventures. We launched it as a video series, encouraging families to get out and the different places and sites that they could travel to in Milledgeville. And we saw over 21,000 views on this content. I think it really resonated with families, and we know that all of our outdoor attractions have reported their best year ever. Oconee Outfitters here in downtown said that it was such a good year. They actually sold out of most of their bikes and kayaks. People were so willing to get out into nature. We know Sinclair Marina doubled what they normally do in a lake season in terms of boat rentals. So it was just, it was a great way to really promote that recreation content to the family experience. And then coming back, one of the things that our office was really concerned about was downtown and our business owners there, because we know downtown is a tremendous asset to us. Whenever we talk to people about coming to our community and we talk about, our historic side, we pair that with the fact that our town is charming and vibrant. And that is due to the local business owners that really are in downtown. And we want to make sure that they're here and that they feel supported. So we partnered with our friends over at Main Street, and we did some advertising placements together on social media. We ran some billboards asking people to shop and dine downtown. And then we hosted a micro-influencer campaign. And these were people on Instagram that had large followings that were either in our regional area or the Atlanta area that encouraged other people to travel to Milledgeville. Because I think one of the things we saw this summer with travel was you wanted to see other people do it and do it safely before you felt comfortable getting out and doing it. And this was our way to kind of inspire that type of travel by saying it is safe to come. And that reached about 18,000 people. We also have partnered with the state of Georgia. We are very fortunate. They partnered with 5 different communities, Milledgeville being one of them, to promote what they call a safecation. So because of our mask mandate, as well as the fact that they felt like we had a really nice COVID landing page outlining, really safety precautions that were happening in our community, they worked with us to create a sweepstakes and giveaway for a weekend here in Milledgeville. And that giveaway has had almost 20,000 entries. So we consider that to be a successful partnership, as well as a way to really amplify our own voice for a low cost. And then speaking of amplifying our voice, we normally have a great season when it comes to public relations. And this is really different. A lot of freelance writers that we know lost their jobs. A lot of publications, I think, didn't know whether it was even safe to be promoting travel and paused on that. It was a hard year to earn PR. But really in the last 2 quarters, we were able to get some positive stories out about Milledgeville. And I'm just going to show you quickly what some of that really looked like. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a little There we go. Including some Christmas coverage that we have right now. There we go. I wanted to be a little faster than it wanted to be. And really, we've leveraged stories at the Atlanta market. When we were looking to market for the summer, a lot of the research that we were looking at said that people were not really willing to travel more than 300 miles outside of their home. So most of this media that you see here will be aimed at Atlanta or Metro Atlanta's travel market. And again, mostly promoting outdoor recreation sites to make people feel as safe as possible. So my last kind of section is really talking about recovery phases and what we can anticipate moving forward. The state of Georgia has kind of projected what they see in terms of recovery, and they do not believe that the hospitality industry in Georgia will fully recover until 2023, which is pretty stark and a little bit scary. Right now in Milledgeville, we actually are ahead of the curve, as off of our normal occupancy as we still are far ahead of our peer set, which is a good news story and some silver lining for us. We know that right now about 70% of the business that we have is going to be leisure travel as well as essential corporate business. So we consider the fact that we've already reached the initial phase. We're really moving into the secondary phase. And honestly, I don't think the secondary phase with small and medium events will be until next summer. I don't think we'll see that return really until people feel confident about the vaccine, until it's widely distributed. And just looking at this is kind of what they project with hotel room revenue. One of the things that we see happening with hotel revenue is in Georgia, they're projecting for 2021, it will be at 80% of what it was beforehand. The good news is we are closing out this year in Milledgeville at 80%. So we're already ahead of what they're projecting for 2021. So we think we'll recover even more of that next year. But just knowing that it probably realistically will be end of 2022 before we're at the place that we were at in 2019. So a little bit of stepping backwards, but not as bad as it could be. And this is just a look for you at what occupancy tax trends have looked like this year. You see 2019 is the blue, how we were on a really positive growth. And then you see how deeply 2020 has kind of hit us. At this point, we are about 30% off of where we were this time last year. I am predicting, and I've talked with enough of our lodging partners that I believe we're all in the same headspace. We're predicting that the next 3 to 4 months will still be at a 30% loss. As we approach later spring, we think we'll start to that we'll start to cover some ground in a more positive way. And then by summer, by fall of next year, understanding at any moment, anything can pivot, but by summer and fall of next year, I think we'll only be at about a 15% loss. And one of the things that we're looking at is when people are willing to travel, for the leisure traveler, what are they looking to do? They want things that are relaxing, fun, and memorable most of all. And that's where we think that we can really deliver that. So as we look to 2021 and as we look at moving forward, we have kind of 4 different target markets that we're going for. We're going for our historic traveler, because we still know that's really our number one product. Following that, we're going for our family traveler. We saw that was really good this past summer. That will be a summertime product. Then we'll move into our recreation traveler as well as our lake lover. And we'll be looking at an average age of about 53 with an average household income of $97,000. And this is really interesting. So, right now, especially with everything in kind of flux with the airline industry, most people are driving, people are road tripping. The average American isn't going more than a 5-hour radius. So we know our top markets will be Atlanta, Augusta, and Savannah, but we really have this emerging radius coming from Florida. In fact, our website saw 20% growth year over year for the Florida market. We are performing very well with Florida. In October, especially, one Friday I was out helping out front in our visitor center, and we had 25 people in that day, and every single one of them was from Florida. I mean, it was really amazing. And another interesting thing, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in a minute, we're seeing a lot of those Floridians also talking about relocation to our community. So kind of key things that we're looking at over the next 18 months. We know recovery's begun. We know it's plateaued right now. We know we're going to stay at 30% until people feel better about the vaccine, feel better about travel. Right now, travel sentiment is the lowest it's been since the pandemic began. People feel very scared to travel. And then we are looking at some recovery starting in the second half of 2021, with full recovery being 2023. And of course, all of this can change on a dime, just depending on what happens with the projection of the virus. But we're going to go optimistic here and say by the end of next year, we'll be in a much better scenario. And then kind of what are we looking at in terms of recovery growth? One valuable lesson we learned this year was to really ramp up our digital presence, because one of the things that we saw happen is, with the virus changing so quickly, we really need to have the ability to change our advertising message quickly. And it's really hard to do that if we're in like print publications because of their timeframes and printing process. So you're going to see us have a much heavier presence this year with digital advertising as well as social media advertising. And then we have some new growth initiatives this year. One of the things we're hearing from our hotel partners is that they are really missing family reunion market, wedding market. So we're really going to invest some funds and resources into trying to grow those markets, because we know leisure from our current efforts, we know leisure travelers are coming here. It's really the groups. And things like sports tourism, college graduation, deep roots, those things can't come back until it's a safer country. So, we really have to look at things like weddings that could be smaller than they once were, but still possibly happening as new growth initiative for next year. And then we also are going to take up some relocation content, and that'll be the first time that we've really invested heavily in that. It's amazing. I don't know if many of you have talked to real estate agents lately, but I know they are selling so many homes here in Milledgeville, and they're not to people from Georgia, or if they are from Georgia, they are from the Atlanta market. COVID has changed the way people work. It has changed people's perception of the type of residence they want to live in and the type of community they want to live in. And we are seeing so many of those travelers come here to our visitor center to learn about the community. And we've realized there's not really a positive resource for them to go to right now to encourage them to relocate here. So we want to step in to fill that void, to create not just visitors, but hopefully lifelong residents. And there's my Christmas cheer picture for you. We are, of course, promoting the Christmas season, but we're kind of in the midst of that. So that's a bit of a harder thing to share. I will tell you, we're doing a promotion right now with Main Street that if anybody spends money in downtown, be it 25 cents or $200, they can enter to win some prizes beginning this Friday that we purchased from downtown businesses. So next year, as we move forward, downtown and our local business community will certainly continue to be top of mind. We want to make sure that those businesses survive and that they feel like they have support not only from Main Street, but also from our office as well. May I answer any questions for you? And while I can't promise next year's presentation will be more positive, I certainly hope it will be.
Rebecca, will you tell them just a little bit more about the 12 Days of Christmas piece that y'all are doing and how that works?
Sure. So really what it is we wanted to create a way to motivate people to spend money in downtown Milledgeville. We knew that with the college closing out early that there was going to be a void in that time frame. So we launched 12 days of giveaways. And what it is from Small Business Saturday, which was November 28th, through December 22nd, if anybody spends in downtown and they go to our website, which is marymilledgeville.com, they can upload their receipt and be entered to win one of 12 prizes. Each day, the prize is progressively better, but the very first prize that we give away is 1 year of coffee at Blackbird. So these are not small prizes. These are really nice, very desirable prizes. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you spend 25 cents or if you spend $200. The point is, we want you to spend with our local businesses so that they feel some relief this Christmas season.
I think you got Mr. Jordan's attention pretty quickly when you mentioned a year of Blackbird coffee.
Look, my husband really wanted to be able to come and apply for this, and I told him that just wasn't quite right, that he would be able to win something.
Can you talk a little bit about the micro-influencers? Did those people actually come to Milledgeville and then do their social influencing from there, or how did that work?
Sure, they did. So, of course, everybody's familiar with the Kardashians. The Kardashians is like the best example I have of a globally recognized influencer. One of the things that we're learning in our industry is, micro influencers, the people that have a fan base following of 5,000 to 25,000 people on Instagram, are a great way to get your brand and your brand message before their followers. So what we did is we selected 4 influencers, 2 from Atlanta, and then one was from here in Milledgeville, one was from Eatonton, that had a significant following, and we sponsored them to come into Milledgeville and to enjoy certain activities. So whether that was we would give them downtown dollars and they could decide where they went to eat, and then we might have a tour lined up for them or a boat rental lined up for them. And they experienced that, and then they shared it with their fan base. And I can tell you, for example, Savannah, who was from Eatonton, she went to Bollywood Tacos with her money. And when she shared a picture of it, over 250 people commented on that picture from Bollywood Tacos, talking about how good it looked, how they wanted to try the restaurant. So it's kind of a grassroots way when you don't have a lot of money, like we don't have a lot of money. It's a good way to really get out there and to promote your brand to a larger audience without such a substantial spend.
Cool. I've heard about influencers, but I really didn't know how they worked or how well they worked. But that's a good testament of how well they work. So.
Sure. And we're learning with that too. This year was our first attempt at really leveraging influencers, but I think we were very pleased with the results. In fact, we have an influencer that's coming next week to do Christmas at the mansion and then some shopping downtown. Oh, cool. So I think we'll continue to do that into 2021 for sure.
All right. I'm going to be quiet in case anybody else has any questions. So.
I just want to make one comment very quickly, and that is that for years we have known what a wonderful recreation amenities that we have, and while they certainly got notice but didn't always even get notice from people in Milledgeville, this is probably the huge positive that has come out of this, is that maybe we'll get recognized, and there'll be people that will want to do this, and especially if this continues on into the spring and the summer, it's a great way for everybody to get out and not be in a crowd at the same time, and I hope it takes off. I hope this is one huge success out of all this downturn.
We do too, and I think you're really right. I think we have worked over the last couple of years to try to balance the historic side of our brand with the recreation side of our brand, because it is such great product. And I think this year has really accelerated that. And the good news is we're actually going to see some product growth because of it. Like, for example, and I know they're in the county, but still, I mean, it's good for all of us. Sinclair Marina, they, in a typical season, their manager told me they normally rent 450 boats. This year, they rented over 800. So next year, they're going to build 50 camping sites and buy at least 2 more boats because they expect the recreation season to continue to be really positive for them. So it's good. We're seeing investment and growth, which I think is going to really help. I mean, our campsites right now are saying like they're covered up, that they can't accept more RVs because they're so popular. So it's a really different year, and not everything is bad. I mean, some of it is good, and some of it I think we're going to walk away knowing a lot more about our market, knowing a lot more about where opportunity exists.
Rebecca, I just want to say congratulations to you and your team for making the most of this otherwise awful situation. You guys have adapted to an unprecedented situation in our country. You guys are leveraging this to your best ability. And I want to thank you for being proactive throughout all this. I know other communities, they may not have people that are, seeking out new ways to connect with an audience in the midst of a pandemic. But I really appreciate y'all being on top of this. And as I said, just using this as an opportunity to learn something new about the visitors to our community and continuing to fight the good fight and represent Milledgeville well. And we really appreciate that.
Thank you, Walter. We really appreciate that. It has been a hard year. It's been a hard year for everybody. But I think we have a lot of optimism moving forward. Well, thank you guys for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And please know that if you ever have any questions, contact me, come by, stop by anytime. We are glad to share our story or what we're working on at that present moment with you at any point.
Thank you, Rebecca, and give our thanks to your team, too, for all of their hard work. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, and any other questions? We'll move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Griffith?
Thank you. I just got one couple of quick things here to mention, and then I think we need to go into a closed session for just a couple of other pieces of information. You have in your packet tonight a resolution for the Georgia WARN program, which is the Georgia Water and Wastewater Agency Response Network. One of the things that I mentioned to Robert Haddon when you all first gave me the opportunity to be city manager was what were some things that we had in our tool belt to be able to deal with catastrophic events if we had those in our water and sewer system, mainly in terms of water treatment and wastewater treatment. And one of the things he brought to me was this Georgia WARN program that he said had been in existence for a pretty good while, but that the city had never participated in it. And I dug into it with him and really felt like it was a good idea. Basically, what happens is once you sign up for it, you're in it, you update information with it annually, but you have to actually issue a request to be removed from the agreement. So this will be the only time that you'll need to approve the agreement, but what this will enable us to do is possibly, if necessary, request help with problems during natural disasters or catastrophic situations. And we also are offering to give help when able, if those requests are made, and we will submit a list of personnel and equipment that are available and that we would be willing to lend out to others in the Georgia WARN program if someone was in need. The way this program works is you have to be a part of the program in order to request help. So we felt like it was to our advantage to be a part of the program so that we could do that. There is a fee associated with it if you actually send help to a community or if you request help to come into this community, and that's based on the Federal Emergency Management Agency schedule of fees for equipment and personnel rates. And that is not a bad thing, because typically if you've gone through a catastrophic event, FEMA's going to have funds available to help you weather that event, and the fees or the revenue money that they're going to have available to you is going to be based on their equipment and personnel rates. So it really works hand in hand with making sure that you can fill out all of the paperwork that FEMA would require if they were to offer some reimbursement for some expenses during a situation like that. But it also offers more than mutual aid. It provides some advantages for personnel training, for regular networking with other agencies. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a catastrophic event for Georgia Warren to work. For example, if we had, now that we're in Georgia Warren, if we had a major COVID event, say at the water treatment plant, and all of our employees, or the majority of our employees, became COVID positive and were not able to come to work, by being in this Georgia Warren program, we can contact communities that have the same type of water treatment plant that we do, and they would be willing to send personnel in to help us get over that hump. So I think it's a good thing. I'm excited about it. I appreciate Rob sharing it with me and putting the information together. It is endorsed by Georgia EPD, which is not a bad thing. It's also endorsed by the Georgia Water Professionals and Georgia Rural Water Association, so and GEMA. I just bring that to you tonight for a means to plan if we find ourselves in a situation where we might need to request some assistance, and also to be a good neighbor and provide some assistance if necessary. Also, Bo has already mentioned to all of you, I think, but you have the most recent alcohol renewals in your email. It's even more recent than what's in your notebook in terms of the list that we will look at tonight. We most likely will have 5 to 6 more that will be pending that will need your vote for approval, and we will be most likely having a call meeting on December 29th at 5:30 to cover those, as I mentioned to you in an email towards the end of last week. Another thing that we have to do at that meeting is we have to extend the resolution allowing us to be able to meet through Zoom and the other teleconference capabilities that we have, because the one that we have, it expires at the end of the year. So in order for us to be able to do our meetings through teleconference means, we will need to extend that state of emergency and that resolution in order to be able to do that. But we will bring that to you on December the 29th. I anticipate that will be a very quick meeting just to cover those two things. And the mayor and I talked the other day. She is interested, as well as I am, in terms of looking at the possibility of some type of planning meeting early in 2021. So I'll be putting some dates in an email in the next couple of days for those to see if they work. We won't do like we did last year. We're still not quite, like Rebecca's people, we're not quite ready to travel yet, so we probably won't do that in Athens, but we will do it up here one Saturday with some major social distancing, and I'll share with you how I think that can work up here with everybody coming. I really would like for us to get eyeball to eyeball early in the year and plan what we're going to do for 2021. Although I'm a little bit scared to do any planning because I think we had a good planning session for 2020 and look what happened, but we will plan for 2021. Interestingly enough, on the GMA call today, we heard from the epidemiologist at Emory University Hospital, and he predicted that the first round of healthcare workers in Georgia could receive the first round of COVID vaccinations by December 15th. So they are moving very quickly on those, and obviously there's a phase in, and it's the healthcare workers that will get them for the first go round. But it appears that the vaccine is coming quickly, and that's an exciting thing, I think, in terms of possibly getting us to the point where we're kind of back to normal again. So with that, I'll answer any questions if anybody has them about anything that I've talked about. I will also be emailing you all most likely tomorrow, sharing some information with you about our board appointments for Central State Hospital Local Redevelopment Authority Board. Not recommending anybody to you, but just letting you know the folks that have shared some interest with the mayor in terms of who would like to be on that board, and actually who would like to remain on that board that is currently there. But obviously that will be the mayor's appointments, and for you all to approve her appointments. So
One comment, Hank, I think a good place for the retreat would be the Centennial Center.
okay. Where we could spread out very well, right?
Yeah, we can spread out all over that place.
I don't know if y'all read the article in, I believe it was the Weekend Union Recorder, but they're going to have jury calls at the Walter Williams Gym during the months early in the year. So they are taking advantage of that. So Ms. Shinholster, if there are no additional questions, I think we need to go into closed session for just a very quick update on a couple of things. So.
I know we need to go into closed session, but I do have some questions about this document that we're expected to adopt along with this resolution. There's a lot of stuff to read over, and I have some questions about what they're talking about in 48 hours. We need to do this, that. We need to have someone appointed. We need to have, identify officials and alternates, provide contact information. And I mean, there's lots of little moving pieces. Has everybody had an opportunity to read over this agreement that we're about to adopt this evening with this resolution? Dr. Lee, your mic is muted.
I said I read over it.
Did you have any questions? Hank, can you explain how we're supposed to go about doing that, and who's going to be authorized to be that designated official? And it says something about that person will be authorized to request assistance orally or in writing, and then says that there are protocols for requesting aid that and standards to be adopted. Does that mean adopted by council, or is it adopted by who?
Adopted by the Georgia Warren program. The personnel list is, or the people are the personnel list that I mentioned when I was talking about. We would be putting together a personnel and equipment list. I have shared with Rob that I believe that I would be the one that would request assistance, but obviously I would not do that without coming to council first. He obviously can request it through me, but we have to have the agreement in with Georgia Warren before we can send that information into them. But ultimately, I would be the one requesting the assistance if we needed it. If someone requested assistance from us, I would ask you all to come into emergency session to be able to explain that to y'all and to get your approval on doing that before we send any of our folks or equipment out to assist other communities.
Okay.
And look, this Georgia Warren, it is in connection with GEMA, right?
That is correct. They are one of the endorsers of the program.
Right, okay.
And I don't think there's anything magic, Ms. Shinholster, about us getting this approved tonight. I mean, we could do it the first meeting in January if you all wanted to table it tonight and have a chance to digest it and me have the opportunity to answer any other questions for you about it. I think that would be fine.
Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. If no one else has any questions, I take it that everybody has read over it and are okay with it. So we'll move on down the agenda. To the closed session. We have about 7 minutes. Mr. Jordan, you think we have enough time or we need to?
You're muted, Jimmy.
I can't hear you.
I really do. It's just very informational on matters that we have discussed in detail in previous meetings.
Okay.
I'll be quick. Promise.
I'll ask for a motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation and a personnel matter.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Walden. I can barely hear you, but thank you. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mr. Chambers,
I couldn't get my mute off.
Dr. Lee,
Dr. Lee?
Ms. Walden, Ms. Shinholster,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds.
Aye.
Okay.
Here.
Ms. Shinholster,
Here.
Mr. Reynolds,
Here.
and Mr. Mullins.
Here.